Hi, it's Margaret, and thank you so much for joining me here on the Gardening Me. Today I am trimming back this spruce tree behind me. There are a few dead or dead-ish sections on it that I keep bumping into it. One of these days I'm going to poke an eye out. Now is the best time to trim back evergreen trees like this. We're at the end of February, so kind of late winter, very early spring around here. I just wanted to get this done because this has been bugging me for so long. Now this tree is in my raised bed area, and I'm just gonna get the camera off the tripod here and show you around and show you what I'm talking about when I'm talking about all these dead branches. Okay, so this is the tree here. Pretty big tree. It's kind of towards one end of the raised bed area, and I love this tree here for a number of reasons. Number one, it provides a little bit of privacy from the street. Number two, and actually most important for me, is it actually shades my area where the hose is. If you can see under there, that's where the hose goes. All my drip irrigation stuff is in that area too, like the timers and all this kind of stuff. Everything is hooked up to that area. So I really like that none of that is exposed to like the blazing hot sun, especially in the middle of the day. So it's super convenient. However, if I pull back here, you can see there are a number of dead spots. So this guy here, like, ooh, that's big. Like along here, that's where the border is. And anytime I kind of go along here, I inevitably hit my head, even if I crouch down, on this branch. There are a couple of other ones, like you can see there's this one here dangling down. That has to go too. I'm gonna cut that all the way up. I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna cut these guys. And oh, there's another one. Let me go around to the other side here. There's this one here as well, which is kind of half dead. Firstly, though, I'm going to show you the tools that I'll be using. I mean, it's more or less what you would expect. Okay, so number one, a lopper. Okay, so this guy here. So this should get me a good chunk of the way. And what I probably will even do, just to make it a little bit easier to get into, is I will, so if my branch is this long, I may cut like half of it with the lopper where it's a little bit thinner. But then once I get closer to the tree and it's thicker, I have this guy here. And this is a pruning saw. Whoop, there we go. This is a pruning saw. And I will be cutting the majority of the cuts that are closer to the tree because those are pretty thick, and my lopper will not cut like 2-inch thick or even 1.5-inch thick, I don't think, branches. So this is what I'll be using. In addition, I brought these out. Sometimes you can't see clearly because all the little dead branches are in the way, so I might use this and this as well. And this is the last tool that I guess I call it a tool, but it's the last thing I use. And what this is alcohol, rubbing alcohol. It's 91%, and this is what I use to disinfect my tools. This tree, as far as I can tell, doesn't really have any diseases, but I'm going to be using this regardless. So that's about it. Those are all the tools I'm going to be using, and I'm just going to go grab my gloves, and I will see you back here in like 2 seconds to start those first cuts. The one great thing about using alcohol for your tools is that, number one, it dries really quick, and number two, it doesn't corrode your tools like bleach can, so I quite like using it. Okay, so here we got this guy. What I think I'm going to do first to make it easier for me is I'm actually just going to cut it like around here just to get the bulk of this kind of bit off. So for this, the branch is only about 1 inch thick or so, so I think that should be no problem for the loppers. So for this, it doesn't really matter where you cut it, just anywhere, because you're just kind of, oh, this is not easy. Okay, When wood is dead, it is nowhere near as easy to cut as when it's a living thing. So this is what I just took off. I'm gonna go further in to position the cut right next to the collar. In fact, yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I was thinking maybe I should cut it in half first, but I think that's fine. There's really not much here. But before I go in, I can give you a little bit of a close-up here to show you exactly what I'm doing. So this is the tree trunk, and here's the branch. And where the branch meets the trunk, you kind of see a swollen area there. That is the collar. So what we want to do is we want to cut just outside of where the collar is. And that will allow the tree to heal the most quickly. So my cut is going to be kind of over here, just on the other side of that collar. So let's take a look and give you a close-up of this. So there it is. So there's the collar and there's the cut just outside the collar. That's what you want. Okay, so we got one done. Now we're gonna do this one here. This here, all dead, all dead. Most of the new growth is there, which is just around that point there. So I am basically gonna cut it right there so all of this dead part just comes off. Okay, so for this, once again, I'm just gonna cut the bulk of it off first. So I'll just cut that end off. And now I can really look to see where the new growth comes. And it comes from up here. I don't know if, I don't think you can see that on camera, but basically it's about a foot long of dead. And then right at the bottom of a couple of branches that kind of come out, that's where I'm gonna cut. Because up after that, above that, is still some nice green growth. So this is what I just cut off. And let me show you what that looks like. I can't even find it now. See, this is how I was looking, and I couldn't see where I made that last cut, but it's actually very well hidden. It's actually right under there. See, right there. And you see the new green growth kind of coming out of there. There are a few dead bits like this, and actually this is where I'm going to be getting those smaller pruners, and I'm just going to prune these little dead bits off. Anything I can reach, I'm going to cut off. I'm not going to worry about bits of dead that are above where I can reach. I don't really want to be going on a ladder or anything to do any of this. So basically, if it's within hand reach, I will get rid of it. Most of the cuts I'm going to do from here on in are kind of like what I did in that second one, where it's kind of a branch that is dead, and then it has a section that's still alive, kind of branching out from there at a certain section. So I'm just going to cut it right back to those particular branches that are still alive, and we'll see where we're at when I'm done with that. I'm basically done getting rid of most of the dead bits on here. However, there's still a couple of, well, this particular section here. I want to bring it up a little bit, but I'm not exactly sure how I want to do that. So I think I'm just going to go a little bit at a time, and hopefully it'll be okay. This guy here is really droopy. Pruning trees is one of those things, it's a little bit nerve-wracking because once you cut, you're done. You can't glue it back on. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this really long bit here off first, and I'll do it right at where the branch crosses, right underneath that. This part here is very much in the way. I see some really nice growth here from last year. You can kind of tell because it's a much more, I don't know, vibrant blue. It's not as dull as the older growth. So I'm actually thinking I might trim this back to just where that growth is. Okay, here we go, all or nothing. Okay, this has to be trimmed a little bit more, like this has to kind of go. And the branches here are kind of thin. I mean, this is the spot I'm looking at doing, but I'm wondering if that is too far back. So, you know what? Let's just cut it to here and see where we're at with just that one little cut. There. That's not too bad. Still in the way, but not too bad. What you never want to do when you're trimming trees is cut halfway up a branch or something like that. You always want to cut it at a cross, like where there's another branch coming out. You know what? I'm going to pause on that. I'm going to wait and see. Now I'm dealing with this one up here. I want to get rid of that. I don't want that. So I'm going to go all the way back to where that meets the trunk and get rid of that. There. The other thing is, when you're doing things like this, sometimes you have to step back because you're right here seeing what's going on, but you're not looking at the big picture. So I think right now I'm going to kind of step back and see where I'm at and see what else I have to do, because I think I'm getting close to being done. You know, I've gotten rid of the majority of branches that kind of were hitting me in the face. There's one over there I still need to do that I can see, but the majority of them are basically done. And now it's more or less this bit, but I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do this bit so that it doesn't, so that it kind of blends in a little bit more. So I'm going to take a quick look back. Okay, so this is where I am at right now. I feel that this bit here is hanging a little too low. Okay, so how are we doing now? Better. The left-hand side of the tree gets the bulk of the wind and the snow and the ice and all that kind of stuff, so it tends to get a lot more damage. That's why usually when I'm getting rid of dead limbs, it's on that side, but then all of a sudden it kind of creates a little bit of lopsidedness. And quite frankly, I'm not that concerned about it. I could just kind of chop all this off to make it equal to that, but I kind of prefer not to. I want to make it easy to navigate around, easy to get under, but I don't really want to get rid of all this fullness because I kind of like it. And we're done. It looks so much better. Looks so much better. Oh, I'm very, very happy. You know, this means I am not going to be poking my eye out all the time or hitting my head or any of that business. It's going to be lovely. Thanks for joining me today as I trim my tree. And next up, I'm actually going to be starting some seeds very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. Anyhow, thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye. So this is what I just cut off. And let me show you what that looks like. I can't even find it now. Boy, I did such a good job of cutting. I don't even know where I cut. Where did the cut go? Huh. Oh, there it is. Oh my goodness, I couldn't see it for a sec. Okay, so here we go.